Well, basically, there's a situation going on it's in the UK legal system at the moment. In relation to my visa, it's got nothing to do with a bar fight or anything of that sort. And there's just been some kind of mix-up with my visa, basically. I don't really know how to explain it, and I don't really know what I can say about it. But basically, in June, there'll be another hearing with regards to my visa, and once that's out of the way, I should know an exact date when I could get it back. I had a little break in, fights, basically. I had a delay on my visa still, and knowing Tam from the UK MMA circuit, I knew he was a guy that I could trust. He came up with a good offer. He was willing to work with Bellator because Bellator got approval of my fights, and it's Dubai. What isn't there to, what more can I say? It was a good choice, I think. Well, I've been in with a few striker first grappler situations in recent fights. I had Radev, who's obviously an Olympic level wrestler. Also Patrick Valet over in Cage Contenders was a submission specialist, all his wins by submission, a few TKOs in there, but the majority by submission, sorry. And then a jiu-jitsu black belt, a reputable jiu-jitsu black belt, and I think it's good for me just to show that I can be in there with these specialists and still knock them out. So, yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Jiu-jitsu black belt versus striker. Yeah, I think people should not be begging for fights. I think there's a lot of fighters that want to be active, not only because they want to fight regularly, but of course because of the economic climate. They want to keep getting paychecks. These paychecks run out kind of quick, especially when you're paying taxes, you're paying your coaches, you're paying your manager, and like I say, the recession is still alive and well. And I think those guys are just hungry for the cash as well. But this is where I think Bellator is better. You've got guys in the UFC saying, oh, I want to fight this guy so I can get a title shot. I want to fight this guy because I think it could lead to a title shot. Whereas in Bellator, no matter who you are, you could be a former, could have come from the UFC, former champion. You could be a real big respected fighter. Say Rampage joins Bellator, he'll just go in the tournament with everybody else. So he's not going to have to call out his fight. No one calls out the fights. You prove yourself, and you get the fights that you deserve. So. That's why I'm loving the Bellator format. No one is given a championship shot. You earn it. Everybody goes in the tournament, regardless of your reputation or your history. A guy who's 4-1 against, King Mo, or a guy who's, 10-0 against Rampage if he comes over. It's just a great way of proving your worth as a fighter, and your worth is getting a championship shot, basically. Basically, I've got nothing against any of the UK guys or whatever. I respect everybody for doing what they're doing, but the light needs to be shone a little bit on the reality of things. And for number one, I'm definitely the most entertaining fighter. Number two, I finish fights all the time. I wouldn't have been able to survive. There's not many fighters, and I said this while I was with Strikeforce, there's not many fighters who could have left the UFC and still survived. There's not many fighters, a lot of fighters would be struggling, or going back to Tesco's. I think I said that, no, Fighting Fit magazine. And that's true. Look, I'm not in the UFC no more, but I'm surviving. You see, I'm here, I'm out on Dubai national television, fighting for the Sheikh. I was in Ireland, fighting out there. I've got other great fight offers coming up. And there's a lot of big fights that I've been offered that I've had to turn down. There's a lot going on. I'm in high demand. A South African reporter was here. She's here specifically for me. And guys are coming from all over the world to Dubai for me. And it's like, she was saying, look, you're a big draw. And I haven't been in the UFC for however long. And I don't think there's many other athletes that could do that, especially UK guys. And I think people forget that. And I think people forget that when these guys that are now in the UFC doing what they're doing, when I was Cage Rage World Champion, when I was fighting for Cage Rage, when I'm fighting guys like Dave Strasser, these guys were in the audience asking me for autographs. And that's no lie. I'm not calling no names out, but they know who they are, and they're forgetting that. When I was in there fighting Mark Weir, fighting Dave Strasser, Luis Azevedo when he was with Pride, and fighting all these top talents. These guys were in the audience. These guys were queuing up to see me. These guys used to drive 3 hours to come and do seminars with me. Do you know what I mean? And people forget that these guys used to email me, can we come and join your training camp? And I come and stay at your house, you know? And I used to put them up. I used to let them stay with me, feed them, go out, spar, whatever. And then they get to a certain level and they forget that. They think that they're, all of a sudden, they're not that person when they are. And that's all it is. Shane Mills was a nice guy. You know, I've said some bad things about him in the past. I've seen him at the Glory after show, and you know, I said hello to him, and it was all, you know, it was easy. There was no bad tension there. But Shane Mills, in all fairness, is not on my level. I don't believe he's on my level. I don't feel that he even. Every fighter deserves a fight, and then you can say, "Oh, why are you fighting Ribeiro?" So every fight has something to offer. You know, I'm not really a guy that picks and chooses my fight. If I get offered Shane Mills, the likelihood, if the money's right, I'll take it. But to be honest with you, Shane Mills isn't on my level. I don't see, the fight doesn't interest me at all. There's nothing for me to gain from this fight. And then you say, "Oh, fight Ribeiro." Ribeiro, for all his faults and his poor record, he's a legitimate jiu-jitsu black belt. So he has that to offer me. You know, I've knocked out, I've beat, I've hung in there on the ground, I've defended it, defended his belt, defended against a legitimate jiu-jitsu black belt. Shane Mills doesn't offer me anything like that.